So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you are. I hope you guys are all doing well. Welcome back to my channel. I've gathered you guys here today to talk about a very sensitive and pressing topic, which is the subtle art of dressing as a man. Now, ladies, if you're watching this, I want you to continue watching this because I want you to gather some intel for your partner, husband, boyfriend, brother, whoever it may be. I want you to gather some intel and information. And gents, if you're watching this is for the guys who are more so at that intermediate stage in their fashion journey and who want to move past the typical jeans, sneakers, and t-shirt and move more towards a wardrobe that reflects maturity, individuality, and confidence. So in today's video, we're going to look at a little bit of a brief history of men's fashion and dress. We're going to challenge a couple of stereotypes, and I'm going to give you a few key principles you can take away that will help you go away and build an elevated wardrobe without having to break the bank and go broke. So before we jump into those principles and tips, let's take a step back and look at how we got here, because fashion is so much more than just putting on some clothes. Now, when we think of menswear today, we often think of boots, suits, trousers. But what a lot of people don't realize is that throughout most of history, men wore garments that we commonly refer to today as skirts. We saw this in ancient Greece with the togas and tunics, which were considered dignified. In medieval Europe, kirtles and hose were staples for men. In Scotland, till today, kilts are seen as a symbol of heritage and masculinity. In many non-Western cultures, garments like robes and sarongs, essentially skirts, are still worn by men without question. How did we get to a point where we started to associate skirts with femininity in the West? For us to answer that question, we have to quickly touch on colonialism and industrialization, which were both responsible for shaping the rigid gender norms that we see today. The notion of development, or what we understand as prosperity, whether of a country, group, or individual, has been shaped throughout history by social constructs that stem from colonialism as an ideology. The influence of colonialism extends to how we interact with each other, how we interact with nature. It's determined things like the means of production, the commodification of bodies, the social value assigned to humans, and people's roles and their hierarchization. So when we look at this aspect of colonialism and analyze it from a fashion perspective, we're able to now understand why we as men especially make certain fashion choices. And that brings us to the core of today's video. If the common understanding between men is that the real sort of true identity and meaning of a man is to be independent, strong, powerful, and all these sort of cliche words that we use to describe a man, then it also means dressing well as a man isn't about conforming to rules. It's about embracing authenticity and confidence, which, if you think about it, is in line with the cliche understanding of what a man truly is today. So that brings us to the first point, which is to dress for who you really are. So if style is a form of self-expression, it's not enough to just go out and wear the latest trends. You really have to make sure that your wardrobe reflects you as a person. And for your wardrobe to reflect you as a person, you have to understand who you are as a person. Now, this isn't going to turn into a video about how to find yourself, but in order for you to really define your style, you have to understand what your interests are. So typically we have these words that we use to categorize different parts of fashion, like classic, modern, edgy, minimalist. And usually what happens is you'll understand what things interest you in your life, what sort of books, arts, music, what sort of countries, cultures influence you, what are you drawn to? And when you bring all those things together, usually what happens is people's style typically will see them defined by these different sorts of words. One thing to remember as well is that you don't have to define your style as classy or minimalist or edgy. You don't have to do just one thing. You can actually combine multiple factors of these different categories and make them your own. And for me personally, the most stylish people that I see, they don't just wear one thing. They don't just wear sort of like one style, like a classic style or like an edgy style or a punk style. They're actually able to pull from different categories and bring it together cohesively in their own way. Now, for some people, it actually may be worth stopping here in the video. If you're not at a point where you know what defines you and you don't know what your interests are and you don't really know what your taste is like, go out and find those things. Go out and explore those things. Go out and see more of the world. And as you start to see more of the world and get a taste for what it is that you like, you'll be able to pull things and define your taste effortlessly. Now, if you are someone that understands more so what your taste is and what sort of things attract you, then a great place to start is just to replace those, let's say, generic sneakers in your wardrobe and swap them out for something that's a little bit more elevated. And I'll give you a perfect example right now. So I actually picked up these beautiful pair of Y3 Yohji Yamamoto Adidas sneakers that I found on Vestia Collective, and I think they were 28 euros. So I'll show you them. I actually have them here. So these were the sneakers that I picked up, and obviously I'm super, super happy with them because they were 28 euros. Of course, obviously, I could have gone out and just bought a pair of Sambas. I could have gone out and bought a pair of Dunks or, Air Force Ones. But I actually went for a shoe that I don't really see too often. And number two, I like the look of. And number three, complements my vibe and my energy. Now, I know there's definitely at least one guy watching this video that does this because I know what we're like. If you're the guy that has Dunks in 10 different colorways, if you're the guy that has Air Force Ones in 10 different colorways, if you're the guy that has Jordans in 10 different colorways, come on.
Stop it. Get some help.
I need you to go out and look for shoes that are different and that are unique, and spend time looking for something that matches your energy based on your interests, and see what you like and see how you vibe. Get yourself some boots, get yourself some loafers, get yourself some elevated sneakers, and start to elevate your wardrobe from there. The second tip is communication and signaling. Now, I know none of us want to hear it, but our clothes speak before we do. We are people, we are humans that are visual creatures. We look at things, we judge them, and we form an opinion quickly based on that. Of course, until we speak to the person, but usually what we do is we paint a mental picture of what it is that we're dealing with based on what we can see. We can look at that from two different ways. We can look at it from a negative perspective and think, why are we so judgmental? Or we can actually use that a little bit more to our advantage and think, well, if we have another form of communication outside of words and outside of body language and it's first impressions, let's actually use that to advantage and make sure that we make a great first impression by doing a little bit of introspection and thinking about how we would like to be perceived in a certain situation based on what we're wearing. So really what you want to do is understand the context of the experience and the situation that you're going into. If it's going to work, for example, if you're dressed a little bit sharper, how will people perceive you in that situation? If you're out on a date and let's say that you dress too casually, it's too laid back, it's too sporty, will this person think that you didn't really take it seriously and that you didn't really put in much effort? Maybe you were and other things that you did, but the person will still look at your outfit and assess how much effort you've put into this date based on what you're wearing. So with that in mind, what we want to do is invest in timeless staples. Every man should really have a perfect blazer in their wardrobe, one that fits very, very well. And you also want to have a good amount of neutral shoes in your wardrobe as well. So of course, a lot of black, a lot of white colors. You want to have a nice pair of moccasins. You want to have a perfect loafer as well. You want to really tick those boxes and make sure that you have those foundational staples within your wardrobe. And you also really want to focus on avoiding over branding and focus more on those subtle details. When you purchase clothing that has a lot of branding and that has, logos, what you'll find is that people can now see that logo and associate that brand from whatever their perspective is of what that brand is. And that now brings you into a different context. So one of the advantages of sort of going more so for those logoless pieces and those unbranded pieces is that it allows you to mix and match and sort of have more of a fluid wardrobe. Now, if we look at it from a financial aspect, imagine that you have 10 pieces in your wardrobe that can make 50 outfits. Or you have 100 pieces in your wardrobe that can make 50 outfits, which is the most cost-effective option to have. So when you're buying things, especially if you're starting off from a wardrobe where you'll really at a point, let's say that you only really like 10% of the things that you have. So starting off, for example, by collecting shoes that don't have colors, that don't have reds, yellows, green, for example, if you're going for those colors, you have to bear in mind that you also need the clothes to go with those shoes. So when you go for things like black, for example, you go for shoes that are white, it makes it easier for you to pair things that you already have with those shoes as well. Number 3, tailoring, the secret to elevation. Now, every well-dressed man knows that fit is everything. Guys, it's 2025. It's time to find a good tailor. It's not very hard to find. You just go on your phone and type in tailors near me, and I'm pretty sure some of them will come up. And then what you need to do is spend time with your tailor so they can really understand what it is that you're looking for, what sort of proportions you like to have in your clothing, and they can go ahead and make those alterations for you. One of the best things about having a good tailor is that they can make affordable clothes look expensive. I'm not going to sit here and virtue signal and pretend that I don't have the odd Zara piece in my closet. Of course I do. Of course I have the odd Zara piece, or, I have a lot of costs in my wardrobe as well. I really like costs. But one of the things that we have to understand with the conglomerates is that they're mass producing these clothes, and although you have different sizing and you have different styles like a tapered or more wide fit, you really only have, let's say, 4 to 5 different sizes. And within those 4 to 5 different sizes of a style, it's made to fit a mass amount of people. So one thing that you can easily do is you can take that piece that you bought, take it to the tailor, and have them alter it and adjust it to suit your body. And what that instantly does is it makes that piece unique to you. So having a tailor is really one of I would call it like a low-hanging fruit. It's a really, really easy way to elevate your wardrobe and ensure that you have clothes that look good on you because they fit your body and your proportion. So spend time learning the basics of fit, length, shoulders, inseam, pant breaks, and don't be afraid to also play around with proportions as well. And when we bring up the topic of tailoring doesn't mean that the clothing is supposed to sort of fit super, super tightly. That's not what we're looking for. Tailoring is more so referring to the clothes working for your body. So that means that you can wear something that is quite slim fit, and you can also wear something that is quite oversized, but because that product is tailored for you specifically, it allows you to embrace dimension and style as well. And that kind of brings me on to kind of like I would say subsection within this point is to embrace layering. There's a lot of ways that you can elevate your outfit just by simple layering, playing around with your sweaters that you have, playing around with scarves in your wardrobe like I've done here. Just adding those different layers, those different touches can really take an outfit from a 5 to a 7 or from a 7 to a 10. The next point is fluidity. And for me personally, it's really important to have a wardrobe that is very versatile. One thing that I always say is that a great wardrobe adapts to different occasions effortlessly. So like I mentioned earlier, focusing on those sort of neutral color palettes allow you to have that fluidity within your wardrobe. Having those earth tones or muted tones or sort of like the monochrome, if that's something that fits your style and your vibe, it's definitely something that I would encourage if you're trying to build your wardrobe and have more fluidity and cohesiveness in your wardrobe. And also utilize a capsule wardrobe strategy just to keep things simple and effective. Avoid those rigid categories like, say for example, varsity jackets, and focus more on things like blazers. There's so many different types of blazers that you can have before you max out the blazer category. You can have a double-breasted blazer. You can have one with those strong, sort of fiery lapels. You can have one that has very strong shoulders with those shoulder pads. You can have more of a deconstructed style of a blazer as well. There's a lot of different blazers that you can go for that maintain that sophistication that you'd want to have in your wardrobe, that allow you to play around with your style a little bit more, but maintain that level of sophistication within your wardrobe as well. And finally, number 5, take influence but don't copy. There's nothing wrong with taking influence from others, but your style should really feel original to you. Now, there is no original idea, there is no original thought. Every sort of piece of inspiration that we have comes from someone else, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But if it's at a point where you see something on someone, you see something on an influencer, and you're like, what's that hat? For example, I love the shape of that hat. What is that product code? And you go and find that, nothing wrong with that. But if it's like, what's that hat? What's the product code? What are those jeans? What's the code? What is that shirt? What's the code? And you're completely copying an outfit that you see and going to buy that and wear it yourself. When you copy outfits like that, rather than learning the tools on how to build your own style and how to build an outfit, you're more so relying on someone else to feed you that concept and feed you that idea and feed you that style. And you end up spending more money. You end up further away from the wardrobe that you want because somebody else is deciding what sort of things that you should be buying for you. So 100% follow those influencers whose style resonates with you, as I do. But what's important is that you should adapt their ideas to your own lifestyle. So authenticity, signaling, tailoring, fluidity, and originality. Keep in mind that dressing well is a skill, but it's also an art. The idea isn't to impress others, it's to feel confident and comfortable in your own skin. And if feeling comfortable and confident in your own skin for you is wearing a kilt or wearing a skirt or wearing those wider trousers or finding some of your pieces in the women's section because it fits better for you and it gives you the proportion that you're looking for, then go ahead and do that. Because at the end of the day, if doing what you want to do makes you more of a man, then so be it. And please don't be afraid of experimenting things and trying things out. And I say this as someone who's still working on developing and refining their own style as well. For me, that is constantly changing and it's constantly a work in progress. And if I look back at my style 3, 4, 5 years ago, it's like night and day. You know, it's like a lot of the things that I wore back then, I just look at that person and I'm just like, what were you thinking? What were you wearing? But it's a process. And the truth is that every stylish man was once a beginner. I also want to share a few influencers and creators for inspiration as well, guys. So these are some menswear influencers who I think would be great to follow if you're really looking to develop your wardrobe a little bit more. So the first account that I would recommend is New Kiss on the Blog by Jean-Claude. He is really one of the most stylish guys that I know. He defines himself as a tastemaker. What I love about his style is that he really incorporates different elements of fashion into his wardrobe. He has those more so formal looks, he has those laid back looks, but he always makes it chic and he always has this amazing finishing touch, and he really knows what he's talking about when it comes to fashion. And if you're looking for an account that's really a strong voice with that fashion commentary, I would say that he's one of the best accounts to follow on Instagram right now. Another account that I would suggest and highly recommend is Greg and Torre. So Greg is a creator based in Canada, I think Montreal, and he's also a personal stylist at Essence as well. What's really interesting about Greg's style is that I think although it's quite edgy and he wears a lot of pieces that people probably wouldn't wear in their day-to-day lives, what I love about his account is that he really pushes you to think outside of the box when it comes to menswear. And what I think people can learn from Greg is that when you wear things and you wear them confidently, that's really the definition of style. He also has a YouTube channel as well where he shows a lot of the behind the scenes working as a personal stylist at Essence. So if that's the sort of content that you're looking for, I would highly suggest that you check out Greg and Torre on Instagram and also on YouTube as well. Another creator that I want to recommend is Dion Hinton, going by OK Dion on Instagram and YouTube. Dion is really one of my favorite creators. What I love about Dion's account is that he does a great job at showcasing his interests and his taste through photography. photography. So you'll see a lot of sort of architecture and interior design on his Instagram. And I think this kind of notes to my earlier points in the video where I mentioned when you are trying to find your style and build your wardrobe, you have to really understand who you are and what it is that you like in order for you to then go ahead and define your taste and translate that into your wardrobe. Last but not least, another account that I'm really loving, especially on TikTok, is Eduardo Lamotta. So he has this sort of minimal yet elevated, sophisticated style that I really love. And one thing that attracts me and draws me to his content and to his style is the way that he's able to mix and match pieces within his wardrobe. And this again notes to one of my earlier points in the video, is that you want to have those pieces in your wardrobe that work well together and that kind of complement each other. And you can see that he does that very, very well with his pieces. And one thing that you'll notice is that, you know, you'll see him wearing, let's say, like a jacket in one video, and then, you know, you scroll up and you see a different video where, you know, a few weeks later where he's wearing that same jacket but with a completely different pair of trousers or pair of shoes, and it looks like a completely different outfit. And that really is the definition of having a fluid wardrobe, is when you can really utilize those pieces in your wardrobe and have them work for you with other pieces in your wardrobe in a very seamless fashion. Excuse the pun. So guys, that is it for today's video on the subtle art to dressing as a man. I really hope that you guys enjoyed and were able to take away a few tips and principles that will help you go away and elevate and build your own wardrobe to a point that reflects you even more. I'm really interested to hear your thoughts on modern menswear and where you think things are going. I'm really also interested to see what your opinion is on some of the ideas that I presented in this video as well. So go ahead and drop your comments down below. I always look forward to hearing from you guys, and I really, really love reading the comments. I also want to say a really, really big thank you for all the support and love on my last video. I was really, really overwhelmed by the support and messages that I received from that video, and I'm so happy that you guys enjoyed it. As I mentioned kind of on my community posts, I haven't really done a lot of these sit down videos in the past on my channel, and I was a little bit apprehensive about doing them, but I'm really happy that you guys like them, and I'm going to keep them coming. I did a poll on the community tab on my channel to ask you guys which video that you wanted this weekend, and it was between this video and a pickups video, and the last time I looked at the poll, it was tied 50-50. So I just went ahead and did, you know, this video. But next video, I'm going to go ahead and try and do a pickups video. What I want to do is show you guys some things that I picked up recently, a few pieces that I'm really loving right now and that I'm excited to introduce into my rotation in my wardrobe, so you guys can kind of understand, you know, sort of where my style is going. As I keep mentioning, I'm also at a point where I'm doing a wardrobe rebuild, so it'll be interesting to show you guys what sort of pieces I've been picking up to, you know, rebuild my wardrobe and define it a little bit more. Remember to like the video if you enjoy the content, share it with someone who you think may find it helpful, and finally subscribe for more videos to come. And I'll see you guys very, very, very soon. All the best.